It was the first time I saw a half-naked woman. I had never seen a woman without clothes. You know, so I mean, she had clothes, but like, it didn't matter whether she had them or not, you know, just like she was so skimpily dressed. And I'm thinking, oh, no, I shouldn't look, you know, and I'm thinking, this is not right. And the woman starts speaking in Kiswahili, saying, wapi mume wangu, where is my husband?
Hey guys, welcome to yet another episode of the Life Seasons podcast. This is a place where every season of life finds its voice. So I'm so excited to have you guys back. Excited to have an amazing guest today who will be sharing his story with us. He's really got an amazing mission he's on. He's here trying to rescue the family, and he's got a lot to offer us today, a lot to share with us. And I'm so excited to have him on here. Ernest Wamboye, karibu sana.
Thanks, Mwende. Asante.
I am, you know, when you got here and I'm just like, you're actually here.
In the flesh.
I feel so honored to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Good job you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, you can just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good. So I'm Ernest Wamboye.
Great.
I am I am a follower of Jesus Christ. I got to know the Lord when I was 15.
Wow.
He saved me.
Yeah.
Grew up in a Christian home, but understood the gospel at the age of 15.
Yeah.
I am a family man. I've been married to my wife Waturi for the past 12 years. And we've got 3 children, Tandy, Ivana, and Theo.
Right. 2
girls, 1 boy, ages 8, 6, and 2.
Wow.
And I run a ministry called the Relationship Center. So under the Relationship Center, what we say we promote and defend biblical family values. And so under that...
and defend biblical family values.
Exactly.
Amazing.
So we are called to the family. We want to see the family thrive. We believe that if the family stands, the society stands.
Amen.
All right?
That is true.
So under the ministry, we've got a premarital class, an online premarital class. We've got a pornography addiction recovery class for men called Powerhouse.
Right.
We've got another one for women called Girl Power.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we've got one for the women as well. So we've got some purity fellowships going on. They're also online.
Yeah.
We've got a single seminar called Boy Meets Girl that occurs twice a year. We used to do it thrice, but now we do it twice a year.
Yeah.
And we've got a podcast, a blog, and we're the inventors of Logos, the ultimate Bible board game.
Well. Let me just tell you, clearly on mission.
Yes.
And I just see that those are just fruits of obedience.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, I think we'll get into that, just telling us how you got into all of those things. But let me just say, you mentioned Boy Meets Girl. I think I don't know if it's the first time I got to listen to you, but I did attend one of the events, and I think it was early when you had just started them.
Was it at Sitam?
It was at Sitam.
That was Boy Meets Girl.
That was Boy Meets Girl, right?
Yes.
Oh, the one I've talked about is Boy Meets Girl.
Yeah, you're
right.
You're right.
Yeah, so that's the first time I remember listening to you. You had a panel of people sharing their stories. In fact, there's one story I've never forgotten. I'll ask you about that guy after this, because his story was also so powerful. So it left an impact, and I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Yeah, just the consistency and continuing and just building all these platforms for us to just come and learn and grow. That's really fantastic.
Thank you, Mwende.
So let's get right into it. You mentioned getting saved at 15.
Yes.
So maybe just walk us through that, your upbringing, your background, how you ended up getting saved at 15 years old.
So my mom is an Anglican vicar, and we always went to church, always exposed to church, grew up in church, served in church, and I grew up in a village, if I should say that, you know, a farm town, if I should say that.
Okay.
And it was a small community. Everyone knew everyone. When you went to church, if you missed church, everyone would know you missed church.
Yeah. You were not here on Sunday.
We didn't see you. So it was small. It's not a mega church. And exposed to the Christian faith, had vocational Bible school, all that. But I didn't give my life to Christ until when I was in high school.
Okay.
So I would say there are times I had people getting born again. In fact, I remember when I was in class 2, I used to see people go to the front and they would say, I want to get saved. I want to get born again. And I remember in class 2, I asked my mom, why do people go to the front? What's the, she don't want to get saved. And I told my mom, even me, I want to get saved, you know. And that was class 2. And my mom was like, oh, okay, we can pray for you. And I got saved. But I really didn't understand what it meant until now when I was in high school. It was a weekend challenge. And the guy preaching was a guy called Anthony. And he was preaching from Ephesians 2:8-9. We talked about we are saved by grace through faith. And he broke it down and he just said, God is holy. Man is sinful. Man is in danger of the wrath of God. Man's good deeds cannot save him from the wrath of God. And Jesus Christ is the solution. Christ has absorbed the wrath of God on our behalf. And Christ has lived a perfect life. And he has taken that perfect life and he has given it to us freely. We don't deserve it. And so all who come to Christ receive eternal life. Their sins are forgiven. And you come into right standing with God. It was such a simple message. And I remember I went, gave my life to Christ. Then that same weekend, we watched The Passion of the Christ by Mel Gibson.
Ooh.
I was like, my heart is healed. Lord, I am yours.
There's some things you just never forget. Jesus' film and Passion of the Christ. Oh my gosh. Those scenes of him being whipped. And you're like, it's because of me.
I cried.
Wow.
I cried. And I think I got to understand that our salvation is free, but it cost God. It cost him his blood. So that's why I came to Christ.
Wow.
But despite me growing up in a Christian home, I would say I had the gospel over and over, but it only clicked when I was in high school.
And you've mentioned your mom. Is your dad in the picture?
So my dad came to Christ recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, my dad came to Christ last year.
Wow. Amen.
So
fantastic.
So I would say he was churchy. He would come to church, but he had not yet made that decision.
Okay.
You know, and so there's a whole story behind that. But it was only until last year, now in his 60s, when he actually made that decision and came to Christ, and it was an amazing thing in the family. He wrote to the family WhatsApp group, "Hey guys, I've given my life to Christ," and we're like,
wow.
And
that's
so
beautiful.
But despite that, he was a very, he brought us up as a very right, in a very right way, you know.
Okay.
Don't do the wrong thing, do the right thing. He had a very strong moral compass. He's always had it, but he only came to give his life to Christ much later.
Okay, so the picture in the home, mom and dad are there. They are setting the values in the house. Are you guys? I remember, like, I've also been raised in a home like that. So the culture was, before we sleep, we used to have to pray every night, read the Bible together as a family, all of those things. What was that like for you?
So for us, regular church attendance, for sure. And it was an Anglican church. So regular church attendance, confirmation, all those things, going through the whole rigmarole. But for me, I would say there's a part of it that I only did it for the sake of my parents, because I had nothing else. Like, for example, going for confirmation, being taught the Apostles' Creed, the Nicene Creed, memorizing it, reciting it in front of the bishop. And I was just like, why are we doing all this? You know. In fact, I remember during one of these times, you know, after school, we'd go for the catechism sessions, and you know, I just asked our teacher, you know, by the way, what's the Nicene Creed, and what's the point? I was told, where have you finished memorizing it, Kwanzaa? I would stop asking questions.
It's like an exam.
So I had a handed down faith. And I think many people would identify with that. You grow up in a Christian home and you just adopt the faith because everyone else is doing that, you know. But I didn't make that personal decision. So we had all that. We had VBS in the home. We prayed. We read the Bible. Got biblical gifts. I remember my mom got us magazines from, what's the name of that company? I forget the company. But they were biblical magazines. Not
were they like devotions?
Not magazines, sorry. Comics.
Comics.
Like those
were there places where they'd ask you things you fill in?
No, not those ones. I'm trying to remember. Was it by IBS? I didn't remember the company, but it was like Moses, like a comic, Moses. And I remember, and they were well done comics, by the way. Like they were, you know, the way you compare the Marvel and the DC comics, like quality. It was really well done drawings, really detailed. Like the artists really did a lot of work. So we grew up reading that, exposed to all of that, and so there's a lot of religious activity in the home, a lot of Christian activity. So that was very regular, very regular. Yeah.
It sounds very familiar. I remember that my dad is the one who used to buy those things. So I first of all, even things used to get cassettes that were all Christian
music,
cartoons
CDs,
and music,
Don
and
Moen,
Nini.
Jackie Velasquez,
Right.
all those guys.
And then even now he used to buy us, because now we used to do devotion, morning devotion.
Yeah.
I guess he was trying to train us how to do it by yourself. So he used to buy us one called YPS.
I remember YPS.
You remember YPS?
I remember
YPS, and there was also one for kids. So I remember starting with the kids one, and then as I grew, I went into the YPS. I don't know if it was teens or I don't know. But I just remember I used to find it slipped under my door as I
remember
grew.
YPS. Oh my goodness. And very few people I meet know YPS. So you say that, I'm thinking, wow, not many people know YPS.
Yeah, that's true. So just take us through now. You've received Christ. You're 15 years old. You're in high school. You've been raised in this Christian home. And I'm assuming now you're starting to, there's a mix of being at home, but also you're now building community outside of the home, where it's not really under the shelter of your parents. You're starting to sort of also learn yourself as a person. You're starting to make decisions for yourself.
Yes.
You know, what was that like?
So the first major event that exposed me to that was just in first year high school. So given my life to Christ, and I remember that year we went for a trip to Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and this is when I just realized there's a whole world out there.
Right.
I've grown up in a Christian home. It's nice, it's good, but there's a world out there that I don't know about. So we went to Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, paid for the trip. We're 30 boys, got into a bus. Our scouts patron, who happened to be our physics teacher as well, has accompanied us. And then we were leaving for Dar es Salaam. We left a bit late. So by the time we got to Arusha, it was nightfall. So our teacher goes like, okay, guys, we can't keep traveling. Let's spend the night at the hotel. Check into the hotel, have our dinner. He puts us in the rooms. We're staying 4 boys per room. Okay. He tells us the bus leaves at 4 a.m.
Right.
We have to be early, catch the first bus that goes to Dar es Salaam. We're like, cool, easy. He goes to sleep. As soon as he goes to sleep, guys wake up. Guys are like, eh, wase.
Yeah.
Eh, wase ni aje. Mode amelala.
Hey.
And guys are like, hey, let's go. So I'm seeing
like,
guys waking up,
happening?
and I'm thinking, where in the world are you going? And then for me, I've been brought up to honor authority, honor rules, honor regulation, thinking, there's no way you guys are doing this.
Yeah.
But guys are sneaking out of the hotel, almost everyone. And I'm thinking, what is going on? So guys are going to a club.
Wow.
So at that point, I don't
So
even know what a
You're
club is.
Right.
I don't know what a club looks like. What happens? I'm going to say, well, like, what happens at a club? You know, like, so what when the club I did? Me, if you ask club, I'm thinking, I know a sports club.
Yes.
So I'm like, you guys are going to a club and guys want to go drink, smoke, meet women, do all that.
And this is fast
I'm
home.
15.
Yeah.
So guys are sneaking out.
And you guys are all the same age?
No.
Okay.
Form 1
this
to
is
Form 4.
4. Okay.
Okay,
All
so
right.
15 to 18.
Okay.
So the thing is, two guys in our room decide to go out. And for me, I'm like, no, I'm not going out. So my friend Archie and I go like, no, we're going to stay. And these guys go like, okay, you guys stay, but don't lock the door. So that when we come back, we don't wake you guys up and we just sneak back peacefully. So like, hey, you guys do whatever you want, but leave us out of it.
Okay.
So guys sneak out of the hotel as you go sleep. My friend wakes me up at around 2 a.m. He tells me, Ernest, wake up. I'm like, what? He says, kuna mtu kwa room. There's someone in the room. So I'm like, what's up? So I wake up. I see my friends have come back from the hotel. They have blacked out.
Right.
One of them has vomited on the floor. So the whole room is stinking of alcohol.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
Seated on the bed next to them was a prostitute.
What?
Yeah.
High school.
Yeah, high school.
Wow.
It was the first time I saw a half-naked woman. I had never seen a woman without clothes.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, she had clothes, but like, it didn't matter whether she had them or not. You know, just like she was so skimpily dressed, and I'm thinking, oh no, I shouldn't look. You know, and I'm thinking, this is not right. And the woman starts speaking in Kiswahili, saying, "Wapi mume wangu? Where is my husband?"
I remember this in your book.
You remember? I read this in the book, yeah. And I tell the woman, we tell the woman, Madam, you need to leave. Your husband is not here. She's like, no. I want my husband. And then she says, I was at the club. He used my services. He didn't pay me.
Oh, so this now when you're a client, they call you mume wangu.
Yeah. So we realized she was talking about a husband who was basically a client.
Oh my gosh.
So we're like, okay. So we asked her, is it this boy's here?
Yeah.
She was like, no, it's not those guys there. So he asked her, okay, then why don't you just leave? Because your husband is not here. So the woman says, musiponipa mume wangu nitapiga mayowe, I'll scream.
And this time, this is not the guys who had gone are asleep.
As we were asleep. So we wake up, we find this lady. So we try to wake up these guys. Well, the guys wake up. These guys have blacked out. No one is waking up. So you tell the woman, look, you need to leave. We are high school students. We are on a trip. She says, I'll scream. So you think if this woman screams, the hotel management will come.
Yeah.
Our teacher will come.
Exactly.
They'll walk into the room. Find the room is smelling of alcohol.
Yeah.
And what are the other two boys doing? Negotiating for prices with this lady. You know?
Oh my God.
And it looks bad.
It looks bad from every angle of it.
So we told her, okay, madam, don't scream. So we noticed she was barefoot. And we asked her, where are your shoes? She was like, maybe chakule kwa reception. So we told her, why don't you go for your shoes at the reception?
Yeah.
Then we'll help you find your husband. So she was like, mimi si mjinga, I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving until you give me my husband.
Right.
So my friend actually goes like, Ernest, I've got a good idea.
Yeah.
Let me go get her shoes and then we can talk. We can move on from there. Let me just go get her shoes.
Yeah.
So my friend leaves me in this room with this woman.
Yes.
I don't know how long it was. I don't know how long he was gone.
Yeah.
But that was the longest period of my life.
Yes.
Because as soon as he left, this woman started seducing me. And I have never experienced this in my life.
Yeah.
You know? So she's, running her toes up my legs. And me, I'm like, I'm feeling so awkward. I'm like, I'm like, I'm sitting at the edge of the bed. So it's awkward.
Yeah.
And she's like, haraka haraka kabla rafiki yako kuja, she's like, like quickly before your friend comes back. And she wants to sleep with me. And I'm thinking, I don't even know what that
looks like.
I don't know what that looks like. I'm 15. And for the first time in my life, I'm feeling desires in me that are so strong, and I want to give in to them. The part of me that feels like, I want to touch her. I want to feel, what is this thing she wants? I want it, and I want it so strongly. And the Christian part of me is like, how do you want this? Ernest Wamboye, you're born again. Shame.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how is it that these two desires live inside of me? So, of course, much later is when I understood when Paul was saying, the things I want to do, I do not do. The things I do not do, I do. So I remember the woman just kept insisting. I kept pushing away until my friend came with the shoes. And I was like, so relieved.
Like, thank you,
amen. Thank God. One day you're righteous. You've said, woo. Some people are like, the times I've told this story, guys are like, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah, thank God. You be like Mwende people. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, Mwende cares for my destiny.
Then they're like, no, we wanted the juice.
So,
oh my gosh.
I'm telling you, my friend, we put the shoes outside. She stepped out to wear them. And we literally pushed her and locked the door. And she banging on our door, but we just ignored her. And I remember I told my friend, hey, this lady was acting funny.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, hey, Ernest, what if she infected you with a disease or something? And I was like, why wasn't I thinking about that
at that
when
point?
I was tempted? In fact, I remember at some point I kept thinking, you're in Tanzania, no one will know.
Right.
It's just your dirty little secret. Don't even find out what her name is. I remember that scenario. But I also remember that trip, I remember many boys sleeping with prostitutes.
Oh, wow.
And I was so shocked. Why would you do that? Because for me, I'm thinking, I've been told to wait for my wife.
Right. Yeah.
So I got that exposure. During that trip, I was also exposed to porn because guys had a Playboy magazine and they're moving it around. Yeah. And I remember I was given a time, pass it to someone, and I just saw the magazine just flipped. I just saw a page of some naked women, and I passed it on, and they kept asking, "What kind of trip is this?"
And once you've seen the way the mind is like a camera, it's stored.
Thank you. It's like a seed that's planted.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I'm a teenager, so my hormones are raving. So I want more of it. Yeah. But I'm like, no.
So there's a battle now happening.
So I left that trip and I felt some seeds also. It was a nice trip, by the way. We went to Zanzibar, enjoyed the trip, went to Dar es Salaam, but there was a dark side to that trip. Yeah. And some seeds were planted, and those seeds of lust. What I didn't know is that throughout my Christian life, the Christian Union and, kept me sane. Yeah. Teachers, authority from home kept me safe. But I didn't know that those seeds of lust were soon. Because every time I'd go home for the holidays, I'd go watch movies, and at times I'd find those movies, some of those scenes, and I just tolerate them, you know. And I didn't know I was watering that seed. Kept watering it. When I completed Form 4, I remember now I had lots of free time.
Okay.
And I indulged in a lot of entertainment, movies, series. I went to campus. I was at USIU, and I had my hostel. And I remember I'd watch those movies. That seed grew.
Yeah.
And the net effect of it when I was in campus one day is that now it came out into an addiction to porn and masturbation.
Right.
And here I was in campus, and I could not recognize myself. I'm like, Ernest, are you even saved? You know, what's going on? You're struggling with your sexuality. I started dating my girlfriend. Purity became so hard. This whole idea of waiting until marriage became so hard. I kept thinking, why are we doing this? You know? And she noticed the change, you know? And so I remember even going to campus, and going to campus is like increased the volume. I was like, you thought
because there's more free time, more flexibility.
Now more free time. No teacher is telling you stop, go to this class. And so the exposure to the world was overwhelming, very overwhelming, and it really challenged my Christian faith. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, the question I'm just finding myself asking, how many, I mean, you said almost everyone on that school trip slept with a prostitute.
Yeah. So many of them. I wouldn't say everyone, but many a significant number.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how many, I mean, how do we, because it's true, we are told what to do. I mean, wait for marriage, you know, do not have sex before marriage, you know, be pure, keep your purity. But you're not taught about these intense feelings that will start to happen within your body.
You're right.
And how do I handle them when because they're intense?
You are so right, Mwende. So I realized the teaching I had received on Christian sexuality was incomplete. I had received a portion of it, and also this is all of it.
Right.
So one of the reasons I'm really passionate about messages on Christian sexuality is based on my own failures.
Yeah.
And if I would speak to pastors out there, parents out there, I would tell them, number one, we must teach that, number one, sex is a good thing because it was created by God.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. When God created it, male and female, it's a good thing. I hardly had that message that's a good thing. In fact, many times it was like,
that's true.
Sex is a bad thing. Sex is a disgusting thing. Sex is a horrible thing. Save it for your spouse.
Yeah.
So
why are you saving this?
Why would I save this horrible?
Spouse?
You know, but you see, the Christian message is like, it's a good thing, it's a wonderful thing, and then now the whole context of God's will.
Yeah.
Why do we wait until marriage? Why do we wait God's will? You know, and then the motivation. You know, because many of the motivations were given back then was you don't want to get pregnant, you don't want to get a disease, you don't want this, and so the motivation is fear. And then you get to campus, you realize, you know, you can use a contraceptive.
Yeah.
You know, you can avoid a pregnancy. You know, and then now your motivation is gone.
Right.
And you're like, why am I really waiting? And much later, I grew up and I realized, you know, the real motivation to live a pure life is to honor the God of the gospel.
Right.
Christ gave his body for me. I can give my body for him. It's an act of worship.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that way, the motivation is not fear or even pride. At times you're told, don't be like Njeri. You know, Njeri dropped out of school. You're better than her.
Yeah.
So you feel morally superior to Njeri.
Yeah.
You realize you can do things worse than Njeri if given the opportunity. You know, at times you realize the things you've not done simply because you just didn't have the chance and the opportunity. So there's a lot of change that needs to happen. Yeah.
I remember listening to some guy being interviewed I was listening a few days ago, just in preparation for our conversation today.
Yeah.
This guy I think he actually is a serial killer and was on the death row. I don't know if you've watched that. It's just a small clip of a guy being interviewed.
Jeffrey Dahmer?
He's called Ted Bundy. I wrote it down.
Yeah.
He's the guy, the Ted Bundy is the guy who was being interviewed, and he's a serial killer. And I remember he was just saying how I assume his story is, I need to go back and check what he had been doing, but he was just sharing how pornography had something to do with the outcome and the results of his behavior.
Yeah.
And what he was just saying is that you can start with something, as you're just mentioning, how, you start with the movies and there are scenes here and there. But then now, slowly and surely, you want more.
You
you start graduating.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, now your eyes become so desensitized to the the movies, you're like, okay, I want to see more, and you just keep going until you're now on the X platforms.
Yes.
Like you're looking for now hardcore pornography. Is that what your journey looked like?
Yes, and it's a truth concerning pornography. You start watching a bit of nudity, and you do get desensitized. Your sexual arousal threshold increases.
Right.
So whatever was initially titillating becomes titulating. You almost want a stronger dose.
Yeah.
And the stronger dose is basically more perverse. And you keep looking for it. And so this is the thing, you are in pursuit of physical pleasure, which is hedonism, the pursuit of pleasure. But what you're doing is that you are emptying your soul. You become more empty, more depressed, you lose zeal for life as an individual. Okay. So that's what happened to me. And I saw the trend. I saw myself going down this path. I saw it's gonna get worse. Yeah. And I had to stop it. Yeah. And so for me, the stopping had to just get in a few friends and just confess and tell them, guys, I'm struggling. Here's where I am. Yeah.
In fact, I was just going to get to that. But before that, I just wanted to ask, what did you start to see, aside from what you are doing behind the scenes? How was it showing up in the world outside of you?
Good. That's a good question. And before even I say that, I just want to say, porn is responsible for so many problems we have in the world today.
Right.
More than we think. Okay? Yeah. So for me, one of the things that I realized is that I could not interact with the women in a healthy way. Anytime I interact with the woman, my thoughts would just like get sexual. I'm thinking, what can we do? She looked at me. Is she saying something? Does she want me? What was that?
Just rubbed her.
She did. So I come. And so I'm seeing things that are not there. And the other thing that happened is that it became hard to view my girlfriend as anything more than a sexual being. I couldn't see her for her intrinsic worth. As a woman, as a person of purpose.
As God's daughter.
Right. I just kept thinking, oh man, when can we get down? When can I steal a kiss? When can I do that? And I hated that about myself.
Right.
The other thing that occurred is that, this didn't occur to me, but much later, when I taught the class, I got to find out, is that porn, one of the effects of porn is that porn makes men specifically more tolerant of abuse of women, especially when it comes to cases of rape. You find men go like, Kwani, what was she wearing? Kwani, what was she doing in town at that time? Those kinds of things. Porn is responsible for that kind of thinking.
Even the femicide that's happening now.
Right, you've been noticing, right? And let me tell you, a lot of it has to do with porn.
It does.
And the trafficking of women, the trafficking of children. So I began to notice this perverse kind of thinking in my mind, and I didn't like it. I also realized that the more porn I watched, the less resilient I became as a human being. Yeah. Because, you see, when you consume pornography, you get instant pleasure. And the way our brains have been wired is that your brain produces dopamine, which is a feel-good chemical. Yeah. But it's meant to produce dopamine in a healthy way after you've put in some effort and you get a reward.
Right.
You get?
Yeah.
So when you work hard, go to university, the degree is the reward dopamine. But with porn, you just get dopamine without any effort. So what do? You tweak your brain to get results without effort. And so when you face a situation in life that requires effort before results, you become easily discouraged.
Do you know, I am just thinking that mindset, isn't it also impacting marriage? People want... people don't want the work.
You don't want to do the work.
You don't want to do the hard work.
Why do I need to read a book? Why do I need to read a book that's 130 pages to work on my marriage? When you hear people say things like, that counseling is a waste of time, that therapy is a waste of time, that podcast is a waste of time, these guys just want your money. That is a defeated mindset. Right. That is a mindset that is not resilient. That's a mindset that wants results without the effort. So I noticed that about myself. My grades dropped. My grades dropped. I realized my GPA was at 3.7. I dropped to 3.5. And I was like, this is not good. And I realized that it was just because I did not have the wherewithal to calculate my time, my risk. In fact, one of the things that happens when you watch porn is that there's a part of your brain, it's about right here at the front, called your prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is what's responsible for making risk-free decisions. So if you're about to cross a road and a car is coming and you don't see the car, you know, your prefrontal cortex will tell you, watch out. And you'll go like, ooh, like, oh, that was close. Your prefrontal cortex helps you, you know, avoid making risky decisions. When you're standing at the edge of a cliff, it's what tells you, watch out. The more you consume pornography, your prefrontal cortex wears out. As a result, your capacity to make risk-free decisions is hampered. So you find people doing stupid things. You know, you are watching porn and their children there. You get, or you find yourself, you're doing it in a public space. Like there's this thing about this MP who was watching porn in Parliament. You have no awareness to calculate risk. And because of that, you end up making very silly decisions. All right?
Because you're now just so hungry for this thing you're pursuing that you're going to get now.
Exactly.
And you're not even aware of anything else.
So porn increases chances of infidelity by 300%.
Wow.
So I found myself on that path. And I mean, I was not married to my girlfriend by that time, but I realized my boundaries with other girls just became very, you know,
flaky.
I felt like, hey, you know, I want that hug to last a little longer, you know, and I'm like, where is this coming from?
Did you ever tell your girlfriend, we are just friends? Kwani, what is it? Why are you being so insecure?
One day, I am the author of We Are Just Friends.
We Are Just Friends.
I am the founder of that university. We are just friends. I am the one who laid the cornerstone.